Warm welcome from ICSK. For most of y'all, accountancy is your last exam. Let's keep in mind the last mile is the toughest, but the view is worth it. The best preparation for tomorrow is do your best today. So let's go. Now about time management. It's a very crucial part of examination. The rule is very simple. For each mark, give maximum 2 minutes. You can solve AFS, CAS in the beginning or at the end. It should not take more than 45 minutes. Try to complete it in 40 minutes. And the remaining marks are shown on the screen. General instructions. Sleep well a night before the exam. Be relaxed, calm and composed when you solve the paper. Focus on the task in hand and believe in yourself. Use the reading time wisely and decide between the choices given. Don't rush while reading the questions. Read them with proper focus and understand what has been asked. Read carefully if they have asked journal or ledger. Journal should be drawn with proper format, date and narration. Write all the points and remember each step carries marks. Write the working notes properly. Now we begin with accounting of partnership funds. In this, features of partnership, this is commonly asked question in the board exam. Maximum number of partners in a partnership firm, this is 50. And remember that each partner is an agent and principal as well. Rules in absence of partnership deed. No interest on capital, no salary, no interest on drawings or commission has to be given to the partners. The profit and loss sharing ratio will be equal and interest on loan to be given to the partner is 6% per annum. Methods of capital. Capital can be fixed or fluctuating. In case the capitals are fixed, then you prepare 2 accounts and don't forget all the journal entries are written through current accounts and not capital accounts. Fixed capital don't change until and unless additional capital is brought in or withdrawn by the partners. Fixed capital can never have negative or debit balance. Calculation of interest on capital. Interest on capital is to be calculated on the opening capital. Do consider the months if dates of addition and withdrawal are given. For interest on capital and all other appropriations, they are not given in case of loss. In case the profit is insufficient, that available profit to be credited to the as interest on capital in the ratio of appropriation. You can refer sample paper 24-25 question number 9 for this. Interest on drawings. Interest on drawings, if no months are given, then the average period can be taken as 6 months. Interest at 10% without the word per annum means that you are going to ignore the months. And if the drawings are irregular, you can use product method to calculate interest on drawings where the average period will be 1/12. This is a definite question in the MCQ to calculate interest on drawings. The formula is total drawings into rate by 100 into average period by 12. A common error done by the students over here is they forget to calculate total drawings. If the drawings is 1,000 per month, then total drawings is 1,000 into 12, 12,000. Don't calculate the interest on 1,000. Similarly, if it's per quarter, multiply by 4, 1 into 1,000, that is 4,000 and so on. About the average period. Middle of every month or quarter or half year is 6. For monthly drawings, take half more in the beginning, that makes it 6.5, and half less in the end, that makes it 5.5. And for quarterly drawings, 1.5 more, that makes 7.5, and 1.5 less at the end, that is 4.5. Half yearly drawings, in the beginning, you have 3 more, that is 9, and at the end, you have got 3 less, that is 3. And if the drawings are monthly but only for 6 months, the middle is 3, the beginning is 3.5, and the end is 2.5. A very important question for assertion and reasoning, that is profit and loss appropriation account and profit and loss account. Both of these are nominal accounts. Profit and loss account is a charge. You write items which are charges here and compulsory to pay even if we are making losses. Here we write the normal expenses like interest on loan, stationery, salary to employees, etc. In appropriation account, we write only the expenses which are related to the partners, like interest on capital, salary to partner, commission to partner, and so on. Profit and loss appropriation account is the extension of the profit and loss account. We get the net profit from the profit and loss account over here, and this net profit should be after all charges but before all the appropriations. If the profit given is before any charge, like interest on partner's loan or rent to partners, then subtract the charges from the net profit in the beginning itself. If the profit is after appropriation, then you have to add it back. Kindly go through the journal entries. Now, guarantee of partner is another very important topic, and you will get questions on this for 3 markers or 4 markers. Don't forget to practice guarantee of partner to the firm, NCERT question number 36, and guarantee in case of loss. Also keep in mind, if guaranteed amount is 80,000 and the partnership is only for 6 months, then the guaranteed profit will be for that particular year will only be 40,000. Past adjustments is another very important topic. Kindly note that the working notes of past adjustments are very, very important. They carry marks. Now let's come to reconstitution of partnership firm. The main topics of reconstitution of partnership firm are change in PSR, admission of a partner, retirement of a partner, and death of a partner. I make it clear, dissolution of partnership firm is not a part of reconstitution. These are the 5 important points which we are going to deal in case of reconstitution. Let us start with the first topic, that is treatment of accumulated profit and reserves. Treatment of accumulated profits and reserves. This is for all the 4 chapters of reconstitution. If you see profits, you are going to credit the old partner's capital in the old ratio. For losses, you are going to debit the old partner's capital in the old ratio. These are the journal entries. Keep one thing in mind, profit and loss credit balance is a profit and profit and loss debit balance is a loss. These are certain cases of workman compensation reserve. Let us assume that workman compensation reserve is 10,000. Workman compensation reserve has got a special purpose, that is workman compensation claim. If we have no workman compensation claim, then you are going to distribute all 10,000 to the old partners in the old ratio. If you have a workman compensation claim of 10,000, then the reserve will be used for the claim. Case number 3, if there is a workman compensation claim of 2,000, then from the 10,000 reserve, 2,000 will be used for claim and remaining 8,000 will be credited to the old partners in the old ratio. In case the reserve is insufficient, as claim is 12,000, in this case, we will debit revaluation account by 2,000, and if there is no reserve, there is only a claim, again we debit revaluation account by 2,000. Investment fluctuating fund also works in the same principle. It is for fall in the value of asset, and fall is book value minus market value. So we keep in mind revaluation account will be debited only if there is no reserve or insufficient reserve. If reserves and profits are told they're not to be distributed and we have to pass a single adjusting entry, then first we calculate the net effect by adding all the profits and subtracting the losses, and finally we pass the entry gaining partners capital account debit to the sacrificing partners. In case there is a loss, then we have to flip the entry. It will be sacrificing partners capital account debit to the gaining partner. Now we go to valuation of goodwill. Now valuation of goodwill can come for 1 marker, 3 marker or 4 marker, and it will also be a part of the comprehensive question. You have to learn and write the formulas thoroughly, and you have to know all the items to be added and subtracted. Loss on sale of asset is added, non-recurring expenses are added, and gain on sale of asset is subtracted, and similarly recurring expenses are also subtracted. Don't forget to study hidden goodwill in both admission and retirement. Now, never take goodwill of the whole firm. Always take the incoming partner share or retiring partner share or deceased partner share of goodwill. Now, treatment of goodwill. Treatment of goodwill for all the cases of reconstitution. If goodwill is already existing in the books, we have to write it off, and the entry for writing off is all partners capital account debit to goodwill, and this is of course in the old ratio. Treatment of goodwill at the time of reconstitution. Change in PSR. Gaining partners capital account debit to sacrificing partners capital. For retirement of a partner, it's gaining partners capital account debit to retiring partner's capital. Death of a partner, it's gaining partner's capital account debit to deceased partner's capital account, and this is in the gaining ratio. In case of admission, the new partner, that is the incoming partner, it is mandatory for him to bring capital. The entry for bringing capital is bank account debit to incoming partner's capital account. Now about the goodwill. Goodwill, there are two possibilities. He brings in cash or he is unable to bring in cash. If goodwill is brought in cash, the entry is bank account debit to premium for goodwill and premium for goodwill account debit to sacrificing partners in sacrificing ratio. In case the existing partners withdraw the goodwill, the entry will be sacrificing partner's capital account debit to bank. And if the partner is unable to bring goodwill, then the entry is incoming partner's capital or current account to the sacrificing partner's capital account. If one of the old partner is gaining instead of sacrificing, then you shall debit his capital or current account instead of crediting it. And the amount shall be the gaining share into the goodwill of the whole firm. If goodwill of the whole firm is not given, then we calculate incoming partner's share of goodwill into reciprocal of his share. Now we go to revaluation account. Revaluation account is a nominal account. On the debit side, we write decrease in assets and increase in liability, and on the credit side, we write increase in assets and decrease in liability. Here are some examples for revaluation account. Please be careful with increase to and increase by. In this example, machinery has a balance of 10,000 in the balance sheet. The adjustment says that machinery to be increased to 15,000. This means the new value is 15,000, so it shall go in balance sheet assets. The difference between the two, that is 15,000 and 10,000, 5,000 will go in revaluation credit side as the asset is increasing. Same goes with machinery to be increased to 120%, means the new value will be 120%, that is 12,000, that will go in the balance sheet, and the difference between 12,000 and 10,000 will go in revaluation credit side 2,000. Now, machinery to be increased by 3,000. The by word indicates it is the difference and it will directly go in revaluation credit side, and in the balance sheet you should write 13,000, that is 10,000 plus 3,000. Some other important adjustments in revaluation account are: number one, a debtor who owed 4,000 to the firm and whose account had been written off now paid 1,000. This is bad debts recovered. It has nothing to do with debtors or provision or 4,000. It just simply means that bad debts recovered are 1,000 and they have to be written in revaluation credit side and added to bank. Land is overvalued by 5,000, then decrease it. If it's undervalued, increase it. Unrecorded assets and liabilities are to be recorded now. Recording an asset or liability means increasing it. Debtors are all good means no need of provision for bad debts. That is, decrease the provision for bad debts. Self-generated goodwill or goodwill paid privately is not recorded. Now calculation of ratios. Sacrificing ratio is old share minus new share. Gaining ratio is new share minus old share. If the sacrificing ratio is negative, means it's a gain. And if the gaining ratio is negative, means it's a sacrifice. This is one of the most common mistakes done by students. A and B are partners, sharing profit and losses in the ratio 3:2. C joins for 1/4 share, which he acquires from A and B in the ratio 2:1. Calculate the new ratio. The formula for new share is old share minus sacrificing share. But don't take the sacrificing ratio directly. This is a mistake done by most of the students. The sacrificing ratio is 2:1 and incoming partner, that is C share, is 1/4. First multiply the sacrificing ratio by 1/4 and find the sacrificing share of A and B and then find the new share. Same goes with retirement. New share is equal to old share plus gaining share. But if gaining ratio is given, don't take it directly. First multiply by retiring partner share. If direct sacrifice is given, that is from the word from. If A is giving 2/20 from his share, means you need not multiply by anything. Directly find the new share, that is old share minus sacrificing share. If proportionate sacrifice is given, that is A is giving 1/4 of a share and B is giving 1/8 of a share, then you will have to multiply 1/4 into A's whole share and 1/8 into B's whole share first, and after that you find the new share, that is old share minus sacrificing share. Capital adjustment. Practice sums with capital adjustment for admission, both the types. For retirement, practice capital adjustment for even small sums for 3 and 4 markers like illustration 14, 15 and 16 from the NCERT book. Death of a partner is a very important topic. You can expect a 4 marker or a 6 marker from that. In death, you calculate profit by 2 ways. One is on the basis of time. You take previous year's profit or average profit into months till death by 12 into share in PSR, and for on the basis of sale you can find the rate, that is rate of profit upon sales into 100, or you can use the cross multiplication method. The journal entry for death to distribute the profit is profit and loss suspense account debit to the deceased partner's capital account, and in case it's a loss it will be reversed, that is deceased partner's capital account debit to P&L suspense. In case the ratio between the partners is changing, then the entry will be gaining partner's capital account debit to sacrificing partner, and in case of a loss, it will be sacrificing partner's capital account debit to the gaining partners. Dissolution of partnership firm is another very important topic. Here, keep in mind there is a difference between dissolution of partnership firm and dissolution of partnership. Reconstitution is dissolution of partnership, but here we are studying dissolution of partnership firm. Theory questions for dissolution. You have to learn types of dissolution and the settlement of accounts in dissolution. Important points to remember in dissolution. Once the sum is over and all adjustments are done, check if all the outside liabilities are paid or not. If they are not paid, then you are going to pay on your own realization to bank. Outside liabilities are creditors, bank overdraft, loan, employee provident fund, etc. Similarly, if any of the tangible assets are not realized, you are going to sell them and the entry will be bank account debit to realization. In this chapter, goodwill and investment fluctuating fund have no special treatment. They are not written in capital account. Goodwill is written in realization account debit side and investment fluctuating fund is written in realization account credit side. If creditors or any of the outside liabilities, they are taking any of our assets, there is no entry. But if it is not in full settlement, don't forget to pay the remaining creditors. Debtors are all good means that all of them have paid and we got full money from debtors. And similarly, if there's a bad debt of 6,000, it means we got the money from remaining debtors. In this chapter, loan to partner and loan from partner, you need to be careful. Loan from partner is a liability and not transferred in realization account. You open a separate account. And loan to partner is seen in the asset and it will be transferred to capital account debit side. Realization expense. If nothing is mentioned, means realization expenses are both borne and paid by the firm. If mentioned clearly, they are borne by the partner, only then they are borne by the partner. If the expenses are borne by the firm and paid by the firm, the entry is realization to bank. If they are borne by the firm and paid by the partner, the entry is realization account debit to partner's capital account. But if the realization expenses are borne by the partner and they are paid by the partner, it is no entry. Keep one thing in mind, if realization expenses are borne by the partner, they cannot come in realization account. If they are borne by the partner and paid by the firm, it will be partner's capital account debit to cash. Now we start with company accounts. This is for 24 marks. In this, we have accounting for share capital and debentures. Let's begin with accounting for share capital. In accounting for share capital, you can expect a 6-marker comprehensive question and 3 and 4 markers. You can expect balance sheet question, consideration other than cash. 1 marker can be MCQ, which can be both theory or numerical. Important theory in accounting for shares. Features and types of company, types of shares, types of share capital, private placement of share, employee stock option, sweat issue, and utilization of securities premium as per section 52. Minimum subscription is very, very important. It is 90%. And if the shares don't receive minimum subscription, we cannot continue with the issue. This can be asked in MCQ, both the amount of application money or number of shares. The most important aspect of this chapter is forfeiture and reissue entries. Let us revise the forfeiture entry. The entry for forfeiture is share capital account debit, 2 forfeited shares to calls in arrears. In share capital, we write the called up into number of shares. In forfeited shares, we write the amount paid, and in calls in arrears, we write the amount not paid. For reissue, the entry is bank account debit, forfeited shares account debit to share capital. In bank, we write the reissue price. In share capital, we write the paid up. A common mistake done by most of the students: if the paid up is not given, go to the previous entry and write the called up. Don't write full paid up. But if the question says it is fully paid up, then it is going to be face value. Don't bother about what is called up. In case the reissue price is more than the paid up, then we'll have to credit securities premium. There won't be any loss. The last entry, which is most crucial, is forfeited shares to capital reserve. The amount of this entry is the difference between the previous two entries. That is amount paid minus loss on reissue. In case all the shares are not reissued, then don't forget to multiply to the first forfeiture, that is amount paid, number of shares forfeited upon number of shares reissued. If these shares are earlier issued at premium, then we have to be very careful and check if the premium is paid or not. If premium is paid, ignore in the forfeiture entry, and if it's not paid, then we'll have to debit it in the forfeiture entry. Comprehensive sum, 6 markers. Be thorough with them. It's a compulsory question coming for 6 marks. It can also be case study. Kindly refer question number 26, sample paper 24-25. In case the question requires to prepare a cash book, bank-related entries are not to be written in the journal. In case of pro rata allotment, consider the applied and allotted shares carefully in the working notes. In case of calls in arrears and forfeiture, allotted shares are to be taken and not applied. Now let's go to debentures. Debentures, we have got issue of debentures with terms of redemption, consideration other than cash, interest on debentures, and collateral. Important theory in debentures. We have type of debentures, very important, can be asked in MCQs, difference between shares and debentures, and collateral security. Don't forget to study the presentation of collateral security in the balance sheet. Issue of debentures with terms of redemption given. All these 6 types are very, very important, and it is a definite question in the board exam. Keep one thing in mind: to get the amounts right, don't manipulate. In bank, never write the face value. You always write issue price into number of debentures. For percentage debentures, always write face value into number of debentures. Issue price at par is face value. Issue price at premium is face value plus premium, and at discount, it's face value minus discount. Important points. If debentures are redeemed at premium, we have to debit loss on reissue and credit premium on redemption. Premium on issue is called securities premium, and it is different from premium on redemption. Loss and discount on reissue has to be written off from securities premium or from statement of profit and loss. You have to take the new securities premium and also consider the existing securities premium. The most common error done by students over here is they also write off interest on debentures from securities premium. No, we write off only loss and discount on issue of debentures from securities premium. Calculation of number of debentures. There is a difference between debentures of rupees 5 lakh and 5 lakh debentures. If debentures of rupees 50 lakh is given and you want to find number of debentures, it will be 50 lakh divided by face value. But if you want to calculate the amount payable to vendors or raise funds, in this case, the number of debentures will be 50 lakh divided by issue price. Issue of debentures for consideration other than cash. This is the most crucial topic. It's very important, definitely coming in the board exam, either for shares or debentures. The first entry is sundry asset account debit to vendors. Vendors over here is seller. Then you will issue either shares or debentures. If you are issuing debentures, it can be at par, discount or premium. And if you are issuing shares, it can only be at par or premium. How do we get the amounts here? In vendors, we always write the purchase consideration. And in share capital and percentage debentures, we write the face value. We need to calculate the number of shares or debentures, and there is mark for that to show it clearly in the working note. There is amount payable to vendors upon issue price. And amount payable to vendors, you need to be careful. If you have already paid the vendors in cash or in the form of bills payable, you have to subtract it from the purchase consideration. In case you're buying a running business that is both assets and liabilities, you have to check if there is goodwill or capital reserve. In case the purchase consideration is more than the net worth, the debit side will be short and you will have to debit goodwill. And in case the purchase consideration is less than the net worth, then the credit side will be short and we'll have to credit capital reserve. Now we go to interest on debentures. It's again very important topic. You can read the question carefully and check if interest is paid once or twice in a year. These are the entries for interest on debentures, and keep one thing in mind. On 31st March, the last day of the year, interest on debentures is transferred to statement of profit and loss, and it is not written off from securities premium. Now we start with Part B, Option 1, Analysis of Financial Statements. In Analysis of Financial Statement, we have got Financial Statement, heading, subheading, Analysis of Financial Statement Theory. Then we have Comparative and Common Size Statements, Ratio Analysis, and Cash Flow Statements. A theory question is always asked in Analysis of Financial Statement. It's usually for 3 or 4 marks. The theory is on Analysis of Financial Statement, meaning, advantages, limitations, parties interested in financial statement analysis, tools of analysis, difference between horizontal and vertical analysis, and also about ratios, meaning, advantages and limitations. Important points in Analysis of Financial Statements. Heads and subheads and items of financial statement should be in strict order. The names of the item must be as per law, like inventory for stock, revenue from operation for sales, and cost of revenue from operation for COGS. Comparative statements and common size statements must be studied carefully. Most of the time, students get confused between the two. Common size statement is a vertical analysis and comparative statement is a horizontal analysis, and you can have common size statements for a single year. The answer of ratio must be calculated up to 2 decimal, and you have to write it in times or percentage or whatever the case may be. Keep one thing in mind, inventory excludes roost tools and spare parts in the chapter ratio while calculating the current ratio. And provision for doubtful debts will be subtracted from the debtors to calculate current ratio, but it will not be subtracted to calculate receivables turnover ratio. If opening accounts receivable or inventory is not given, then closing amount will be considered as an average. Whether the ratio will improve or decline or no change is a very, very important question. Kindly be thorough with this part. In cash flow statement, cash and cash equivalent will include current investment also. Always the accounting years must be checked and arranged properly, first the previous year and then the current year. Now we go to part 2, computerized accounting. Computerized accounting, chapter 1, CAS overview. This is the most important chapter. Definitely a 4-marker comes from this chapter. You need to be thorough with this chapter from the textbook, each and every detail. I would like to make it clear here, all the MCQs from the textbook of all the chapters, you need to be thorough because most of the time in the exam, they ask MCQs from the textbook. 2 topics, types of computer software and generic consideration for sourcing accounting software is not there in the textbook, but it comes in the exam repeatedly. Study them from the notes. Chapter 2, spreadsheet. It's a very lengthy chapter. Study all the functions with the syntax. Financial functions are very, very important and the syntax. Learn how to identify errors in Excel and the steps to correct these errors. The steps in the textbook are little difficult. Learn from the past papers. Advantages of pivot table is another important topic. Formatting, all types of formatting, especially advantages of conditional formatting. Data validation, data reference, and data verification is another important topic. Now we go to the chapter 2, spreadsheets. This is a pretty lengthy chapter. All the functions and the syntax are very important, especially the financial functions. They are repeatedly asked for 6 marks. Second most important repeatedly asked question for 6 marks is to identify the errors. Kindly go to them and the steps to correct them. The steps in the textbook are a little difficult. Learn from the notes or the past papers. The steps are simpler. Advantages of pivot table is very important. All types of formatting is important, and especially the advantages of conditional formatting. Go through data verification, data validation, importing data, formulas, labels. Chapter 3, applications in spreadsheet. In this, all the 3 applications are important. You can inspect both theory and numerical questions from this chapter. Study the numericals given in the class. Tally software. This is another important topic. It's not there in your textbook. The notes are being shared. In the board exam, they do ask questions on hierarchy and grouping of accounts, types of vouchers in Tally, opening, closing, and adjusting entries, and also steps for installation of CAS and step for installation of bank reconciliation statements. The last chapter, graph, types of graphs, components of graphs, step to insert a graph, and advantages of the graph. And we come to the end of our session. Trust yourself and believe in yourself. You know more than you think. All the best.